Okay, so we're getting into the last part of our project, the last part of part 3, and the goal here is to write a constructor. So we already have a constructor for level. We had like kind of a default one that when we call it, we don't need to pass any parameters, and it's just going to set up an array list for us. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set a higher level, like a fancier constructor that's going to accept a buffered reader as its parameter. And basically what we need to do, well, we need to do this list of things. First of all, we know that we already have a buffered reader, so we don't have to worry about like taking in a file or doing any of that, try catch, none of that stuff. We do need to still have an array list like we had in our previous version of this constructor. We'll have to handle loading in the header data. So what I mean by that is when we look at our text file, previously we said, like when we were working with the load tiles thing, we said, hey, the header is gonna, like the buffer reader is going to be pointing right to this line. You'll already know the width. You'll already know the height. Well, now in our constructor, we need to, and we said like before, it's just magically happening. It's happening somewhere else in the code. Don't worry about it. Now it's time to make this for ourselves. So the very first thing you're going to have to do is handle the header data. So you're going to have to do a few things in here. This first line is going to become the name of our level. And so there should be a name variable if there's not one already. And this is going to be our width and our height. So 8 is going to be our width, and then 4 is going to be our height. So that's where we're getting that data from. So you'll have to set the width and height based on this. And then after we do that, after we set up this stuff, then we can call the load tiles method, and that's going to actually go through this whole list. And now, and at this point, your buffered reader, if you have to use the buffer reader to collect this, you have to use the buffer reader to collect this. So after we collect and store these two pieces of information, the buffered reader should be sitting right here, waiting to read line 3. That's when we can call the load tiles method, because our buffer is pointed to the right spot. Now we call our load tiles thing, and it's going to run through this whole list and load all those tiles. And hey, look, it's going to stop right where we need it to, right where we're going to start loading scripts if you've done load tiles appropriately. So now it's going to be sitting at the top of the list of scripts. So the final task that you have to do here is to go through the last lines in here, and each time you find one of these, we should read the data, create a script object, and then add it to our array list. And that's really it. We're just going to run until we hit a blank line. The blank line will signify the end of this part of the file. Obviously, you have to do all the things in the create script. If your create script test is working well already, then you should be fine, because you have to create like a creature, an item, or scenery. There are some options and some things to create there. But other than that, that's about it. And so hopefully this is kind of where we're packing everything all together, and we're setting up our level. We're fully setting up our level with its name, with its width, its height. We're loading its tiles. We're loading all the scripts, and now we have a fully functioning like game environment. And so that's going to be the end of that one. I hope this provides a little bit of clarity for you about some of the things that you have to do along with the text.